Hey everybody, what's going on?
Well, he's gonna read the fanfiction. He's Sonic fanfiction, that is, and I'm gonna react.
Okay. Okay, where is it?
Anyone his
Sonic the Hedgehog has to save the world once again. This time, the last person he meets before the dawn of a new adventure, and lots of surprises and on uncharted islands. This is the only face he sees that day. Yet it seems weirdly unknown. A once valuable ally, a close friend, has transformed into a threatening enemy. He has to deal with it. At the end, he may have to he may have survived the battle, but the wind was not as fast to stop the flames from burning the hero's most precious memories to ashes. Inspired by Sonic Frontier's story summary with a Sonic twist. When a catastrophic event at Sonic's New Year's Eve party causes reality as Mobidians know it to buckle. They're dumped into a typical high school role play setting where nobody but Shadow can remember what happened or who he is. He has to work to figure out a way to return to Mobius to normal, while ships come true around him, as well as betrayal in a war between two halves of the school. Just as things seemed unable to get any worse, Shadow discovers that somebody or that
I think
someone
is in to get the good parts.
is killing off students one by one. Who and what caused this, and how the hell is he supposed to fix it? Warning: the story is a bit of a hot mess, but it is worth reading.
Where's the pages?
I don't know. You gotta click on all of it.
Did we only read that part?
Yeah. That's the summary.
Yeah. That's
Yep.
chapter 1.
It was your average Saturday evening at Sonic's place. Birds were chirping. The sun had just set. Very few cars were on the road. Well, very few moving cars. If Shadow actually bothered to admire things, like the beauty of nature that in the silence of the roads, he would have had a better feeling of how the night was going to go. But as he thought about that last sentence, he realized it didn't even make any sense to begin with. It just happened to be New Year's Eve, and Sonic had decided had decided to hold a party at his house. A dumb decision in Shadow's option, as his house was the smallest out of their ever expanding group of alleys or in Sonic's words, friends. He basically invited all of all of Mobius, so it was going to be difficult. Breathe. As he approached Sonic's...
It's getting into the good parts, right?
As he approached Sonic's front lawn with Rouge and Omega at his side, he suddenly regretted purposely not bothering to show up until the party had already been going for an hour. He observed hundreds of cars lining the streets as he felt the music thundering from the humble abode. I don't want to say it. See, and instantly knew that he either should have arrived earlier or not arrived at all. Wow, sounds interesting. Rouge remarked from his left, her ears twitching as Shadow heard an alarming amount of screams coming from inside. He didn't bother commenting as they walked up the path towards Sonic's front door. The brown wooden rectangle cracked, barely hanging onto the hinges. This place is a dump, Omega observed. His metallic bodies clinging as he shifted uncomfortably. Shadow just squared his shoulders and reached for the doorknob, but once he realized there was one, he just ripped the door off the hinge and marched inside. The trio squeezed into the room, deafening music roaring through their heads as hundreds of Mobinians thrashed and danced as aggressively as possible. Who are even half of these people? Rouge yelled over the music, taking flight and soaring above the crowd. Shadow and Omega squirmed through the crowd, and Omega actually...
Should I go down?
Yes. Just walked through the people and trampled over a few. Yeah, they arrived at a small clearing around dinky table. Adorned and with refreshments and a set stack of what must have been at least $50 as a pizza from Pizza Hut. He was supposed to get Domino's, Omega said. Sad. Where did I go?
Right there.
No. Okay. Disappointment somehow lands into his robotic tone. Shadow shook his head disapprovingly. A hand suddenly clamped onto his shoulder, catching his attention immediately. He turned his head to the side to see who it was. Shadow, my man, you actually made it. For like an hour. I didn't think you'd come. Sonic laughed cheerily, his blue quills shaking spastically as he raised he raised a cup of mysterious blue liquid to his mouth. With his other hand, he grinned, the liquid not even entering his mouth, instead going elsewhere. Go down. It gets better. Shadow stumbled backwards as the liquid went flying from above. Rouge flew down and scrunched his nose. That's disgusting. Can't you just put it in your mouth like a normal person? She shouted over the music and screaming. Sonic's smile flattened, and his hands shaking as he stared down at the cup. Huh? This is my 17th one of these. I can't stop drinking or shaking. Please help, he exclaimed, throwing his hands in the air and dropping the cup on the floor. Shadow crossed his arms, and his mime suddenly screeching for an excuse. You're not thinking of leaving, are you? Knuckles shouted, emerging into the small circle of privacy in the building. Rouge grinned and landed on the ground. Not anymore, she said, a sly smile on her face as they met eyes.
Oh my god!
you know that... Hold on. You know, the party is pretty lit. Knuckles slurred, holding up two of the cups of mysterious liquid. And he handed one to the Rouge when he stopped dancing, who downed the drink immediately. I don't know what was in this stuff, but it's making my head feel real fuzzy, like a soft fox. He shouted, putting an arm around Rouge, and as Tails entered the circle too. You what? He said his arms folded as he narrowed his eyes. Aren't you a little young for a party like this? Shadow said calmly to Tails. Who merely smiled sarcastically. I'd be more concerned on why Cream is here if I were you, he said, jabbing his thumb to his right. Shadow followed his point until he spotted Cream holding up a massive bowl of the liquid above her head, with Cheese's help, heavily chugging the contents. He narrowed his eyes in discomfort.
Did you get it right?
Yeah.
No, I mean, is it on the right page?
Yes. It appears that you, me, and the fox are the only sober ones here. Omega observed his tail frame, giving him the advantage to see everyone in the densely crowded room. Not for long, Knuckles sang laughingly along with Rouge as they put their hands up and partied hard. Tails met Shadow's eyes. His expression flooded with concern as Sonic grabbed Tails and forced him to drink the stuff. Shadow shook his head and sat down in a random chair that wasn't there a minute ago. As he realized that this was going to be a very long night. A few minutes passed, and Silver and Blaze came into their small circle and started laughing and partying as well. Eventually, he climbed up on the table and glanced around the room in search of nothing in particular. As the certain playing song came to an end, he spotted Amy Rose stumbling up to the higher DJ booth and instantly knew she was going to request a love song. Oh god.
Is it getting better?
Yeah. He sat back down as the music started playing, feeling bored as hell. All around him sweated Mobinians dance with simultaneously endlessly energy as they drank and spilled their drinks on one another. As Christina Purry's A Thousand Years began to play, thanks to Amy. People all around them began to make out with each other, much to his sight disgust. Amy broke through the crowd and pulled Sonic to the side, while Knuckles and Rouge made out to the Silver and Blaze, who you guessed it, were already deep down each other's throats. That's kind of disgusting. He thought he knew their never would do something like that. So it must have been the drinks influencing their thoughts and decisions. Well, some random guy broke through the crowd, heading towards Omega. Yo, bro, you gotta try some of this juice. It'll make you feel real good, the man said excitingly. Shadow quickly rose from his seat and met the man's eyes. He's a robot. How do you know? How do you expect him to? Before Shadow could finish, the man dumped out the contents of his cup all over Omega, who immediately startled to twitch and then dance as best as a robot could. Hell yeah! Omega started to shout as his arms swung around circles. Shadow collapsed into his chair, feeling slightly defeated as he realized he was the only one who wasn't completely drunk on whatever the blue liquid was. According to the clock on the nearest wall, it was only 9 in the evening. Shadow closed his eyes in frustration. When he opened them again, after a moment, Charmingly was flying in front of him with a cup. Its figure was crawling through the crowd on the floor like a gross bug, and saw you sitting here
Go down.
Brooding. We thought you should have some of this, Charmingly explained.
Go down.
Shadow starved into the swirling, touching blue contents of the cup. Noticing his hesitation, Charming quickly added, "Trust me, it will help the time go by faster." He smiled, which was a horrifying sight to see Ani be for some reason. After a moment, Shadow lightly grabbed the cup with his
Oh no,
gloved
this is
hand.
gonna get terrible.
Warnings circled his mind like sharks ready to attack. When Shadow raised the cup to his lips and took a sip, they all lunged and tore at him. Within seconds, his body leaped up from his seat against his will and forced him to start dancing. Oh God!
Oh no, this is gonna get terrible.
Thoughts he'd never think floated into his mind, and happy thoughts. He suddenly realized that maybe he did need a bit of fun in his life. As the music changed from the love song to the spastic upbeat playlist of rock and roll, Shadow felt himself a loose grip of reality as the minutes blended together along with the faces of the people around him. All he could focus on was that music. That was blasting music. When Shadow eventually regained his senses thanks to the liquid wearing off, he knew that it must have been at least a few hours. After a quick glance at the clock, he confirmed that it was normally 20 minutes to 12. He looked at the others around him and realized he was pulled out of his little dance party bubble by loud aggressive shouts, shaking his head as if it would help to clear the fog over his mind. He quickly observed that Sonic and a few others were crowding around the table, and he was, at a few hours ago, stepping closer. He was able to make out what was being yelled. "I'm the host. I should get the last slice of pizza," Sonic screamed, using his thumbs to point at himself. We didn't even ask for Pizza Hut. We wanted Domino's," Silver shouted. His fists tightly clenched beside him. Blaze's own clenched fists were engulfed in bright orange flames. Clearly, they're still been affected by whoever it was in that drink. He realized, watching Sonic through a lame attempt at a punch at Silver, who in return threw Sonic into the ceiling with his powers, yelled, "It's no use." I think I'm gonna be done.
What?
Okay, I think we can stop here. Ready?
Okay.
What'd you think?
I think it was good.
Yeah, I think that was pretty good too.